We're just going to take a minute to work on the audio visual. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Coombs, and I'm a regional consultant in Southeast Georgia. And I'll be presenting with Minette Foster, who handles Western Georgia. And we're going to give you an update on the electronic death registration system. We have two other regional consultants that you may be familiar with. That's Donna Thomas. And where is Miss Cheryl? There she is, and Cheryl. Donna covers North Georgia, and Cheryl covers East Georgia. First off, I'm going to talk about some of the successes we've had. Most of us in our role, we've been here about 18 months. And from the very beginning, we started to focus on the Georgia Coroners Association as well as the funeral directors in Georgia. At this time, we have approximately 85% of the coroners using the system. We've been able to work with quite a few large hospice facilities. One of the facilities that I was lucky enough to work with is Hospice Savannah. They process almost 100 death certificates a week, and all of those death certificates are done electronically. And do you know what that means on your end? Okay, yes. It's perfect when the funeral home and the medical certifier keys in all the information, because then you just need to review and accept that record and it's registered. We've also worked with Affinity Clinic and Tift Regional Medical Center, and we've actually worked with Judge Wilkes from Emmanuel County Probate. He has 3 major doctors within Swainsboro that certify the majority of the records, and he personally made contact with those certifiers, which essentially gave me a way into their practice and get them on board Gavers. I've also worked with Judge McCoy. He has a very unique coroner, and he stepped out of the room for a moment, but he was very helpful in getting his coroner on board. Judge Rubinell, she's helped me with her coroner, and we have the deputy coroner on board. So we haven't got the coroner yet, but we're moving in the right direction. And we have plans with Judge Thornton to bring in one of her medical certifiers, hopefully in the near future.
So as Michael was saying, that we have like several, we can acknowledge probably several of you all who have actually helped us along the way of getting some of the medical certifiers on board. But I want to tell you about one county that has been very helpful in just maybe getting most of their, the majority of their medical certifiers are on board now, and that is Troup County. So how did that happen? It was teamwork. They started with the county register, one of the funeral directors at McKibben's Funeral Home, and the coroner. They all worked together and looking at who were their top medical certifiers. So when they did that, they started with the largest health facility in LaGrange, Georgia, which is West Georgia Medical Center. They were able to get the top medical certifier on board, who's also on the hospital board, and he is now using Gavers. So that has definitely helped the county register, who can now do what? Review and register. So that's a good thing for them. They love telling their story. As well as they next started to focus on the health facility called Embry-Holder. And they were able to get 12 of their physicians on board. Now, even though the physicians are not going to Garrett's and doing the medical portion, they have actually have someone on staff. So it's not necessarily the doctors have to do it, but someone on staff can actually enter it in. So that's how they're doing it at Emory Holder. As of January of last month, I was able to train the largest hospice facility in LaGrange, Georgia. And that doctor is now on board. So we, as you can see, we are definitely getting all the medical certified into account. Now, you see I say still to come. They only have one doctor that is a holdout. And I had an opportunity to speak with him last month, and I believe he will be on board real soon. And I see all the smiles on the face. Because sometimes they are a holdout, but I believe he'll be on board next month. So, with that being said, let's talk about what our next step at the county is. So as Donna talked about earlier, we want to focus on the highest volume medical certifiers in each county. So we looked at the 80-20 rule, where so the top 20% of the doctors who certify 80% of the medical records, which came out to be a total of 1,600 doctors. So each one of us in our regions, the regional consultants, we targeting those medical certifiers to see if we can get them on board. And once we get them on board, we'll be ready to what? Ready to just review and accept. So that's what our next focus is on, getting our counties on board. We also have received a funding from CDC of $2,100, which will allow us to focus on outreach and training the medical certifiers. So that's also going to be a very big help to us as well. We want to continue to collaborate with you all, the probate courts. We want to also continue to collaborate with the the Funeral Directors Association, the Coroners Association, as well as our physician leaders, our district health directors, our medical repository board, our Medical Association of Georgia, and as well as the Hospice Association, as Michael talked about earlier, and our state and district epidemiologists to encourage our medical certifiers to get on board. You know, we also want you all to, when you're talking to the funeral homes as well as some of the medical certifiers, to tell them about Gathers. You know, we'll be more than happy to, come out and, support you all and so help them get some training. Our management team will be visiting neighboring states to share strategies and best practices. So now, Florida actually is able to, they're able to register their records from start to beginning in 6 days. And then we have Louisiana, who's able to register a death record from start to finish in 2 days. And then Alabama is able to register from start to finish in 3 days. Right now, we're at 21 days. And we want to make sure that we can compete with those states. So our management team will be working with those neighboring states to share get some of their best practices to see how we can do that as well. As Donna stated earlier, we've already started the process of pursuing our legislation to require physicians to certify death records electronically. So that is already in the works. Right. So Michael's going to continue and he's going to talk about what all this means to us.
This slide here basically shows our overall improvement during calendar year 2015. If you look at the different color bars on the graph, they show each region within the state of Georgia. We basically have it chopped up into 4 sections. And we started 2015 back in January, a little over a year ago. We only had 6.4% of the medical certifiers electronically certifying records. So what that means is every 6 out of 100 records would be done electronically. And what do you think happened on the other 94? Who got to key it in? Okay, everyone in this room got to key it in, okay? And then in December, through December of 2015, we went all the way from 6.4% up to about 16, 17%. So that's an increase of almost threefold, okay? So we are making some improvement. A lot of that improvement came from your help. Countless times we rely on the probate courts. Hey, can you give this certifier a call? Do you think he'll be willing to work with us? You know, can we get him on board? How many records does he do every month? Okay, so if you can continue to do that, don't be shy. What benefits us also benefits you, and that's very important. This is one of the easiest ways to take tedious work off of your plate. If you have the funeral home doing their job and you have the medical certifier doing their job, it makes your role much, much easier, okay? I like this next slide because it kind of shows what we're capable of doing. Back in January of 2015, we had about 65% of the funeral homes on board in Georgia, okay? At that time, you were still probably processing long forms, or you were just mailing them up to the State Office of Vital Records. At that point, when we pushed them back, it became very obvious to everybody that the funeral homes needed to get on board with us, okay? Because who's being compensated for that funeral service? The funeral home. And what's part of the service they provide? The death certificate, exactly. So like I just said, we started at about 65%, and through December, we're pretty consistent at just about 90%. So 9 out of every 10 death records, they're filed electronically from the funeral home, okay? If we can get all of the coroners and the top 20% of medical certifiers that handle the vast majority of the records, you will just have to go to your ready to register screen in Gavers. It's a 2-step process and you'll be done.
I know that there was a statement earlier that we're going to try to get all the physicians on board, but there's going to be legislation in place to make them do it if they want to not be so cooperative. Is the same going to be said for the coroners and the funeral homes?
Well, coroners, those are certifiers, okay, so they're actually doing the cause of death. Now, I haven't seen what's being proposed for legislation, so I really can't comment, but we're tackling it from a number of different angles, and that's one of the reasons that the leadership team has gone to other states. South Carolina, they hit the medical certifiers in the pocket if they don't certify within a certain amount of time. And I was told by Director Moore, it can even go further than a financial penalty. They can end up in the clink. So in order to encourage people, persuade people, coerce people to do things, sometimes you need to have more leverage. Now, I can't stand up here and say that the legislation's going to pass or it's going to be 100% favorable, but we are trying to attack it from a couple of different angles. And one of the biggest angles you can use in the field is your regional consultant. Okay, we're out there. We'll go meet with anybody. If a dog could sign a death certificate, I'd go out and meet with a dog. Okay, especially if he signed a lot of death certificates. So use us. I always say, help me, help you, and then no one ever takes me up on the offer, okay? So really, that's part of our job. Use us. Get us out there. Make us be hound dogs, okay? That's part of our role. Because what benefits you benefits us. Do you think we'd be doing this if it didn't benefit us as well? Okay. Yes, Judge?
Would it not make sense to generate a death certificate at the time of death rather than after the funeral home gets the body affected?
Yeah, there's quite a few school of thoughts, and depending on what part of the process you look at, there can always be favorable reasons as to why you would want to start it. I can give you an example. I have one coroner that's really, really thorough, almost borderline neurotic. When he comes in from the scene, he starts the record immediately and gathers. Okay, that's very proactive. It's served up on a silver platter for that funeral home. On the other hand, let's say you go and you pick up a body at a hospital and they've already filled out the cause of death. But then later on we find out that, maybe there was some other circumstances like an overdose, okay? So it's not a cut and dry situation. A lot of people have advocated for hospice. You know, why don't they start every single record when it happens? Sometimes there's other considerations as well. Sometimes it's not just the primary care physician. You have to consult with the coroner as well. So it's just not cut and dry. But yes, I hear that quite a bit. And currently, the way we have it set up, some funeral homes, when they pick up the decedent, they will get the cause of death from the hospital. So in some way, shape, and form, it is playing out the way that you say. It really depends on funeral facilities, hospitals, who the coroner is, etc. Recently, I've got a lot of death records sent back because the cause of death indicates that there was an accident, but no one ever consulted with the coroner. So those are some of the things that you run into. I have to say this is my favorite slide of all time. I had never seen this until yesterday, but it shows what type of progress you have been making over the course of the last 5 years. Back in 2010, okay, in order to register a death record, it would take folks 116 days. So if you died in February, when would you get your record? Or when would your family get the record? Yeah, quite a few months later. And as you go from year to year, you can see the steady improvement that you've made, okay? It went from 116 days to 82 days to 64 days to 57 days to 36 days, and the state office has to share some of the credit because who was keying in the long forms? The state office was keying in the long forms, okay? But now I'm trying to help you again using our experience. If you can help get these medical certifiers on board, even the small coroners like Wilkinson County, if we could get him, he always sends me over to his wife that runs the grocery store, okay? But that's no excuse. If you're a coroner, you're capable. In 2014, it went all the way down to 36 days. And then through 2015, because of some of the changes, it's gone way down to 21 days. If anyone can tell me where we want to be or where we should be, next time I see you, I will take you to dinner. You heard my voice crack because... Does anyone know where we want to be? How many days? Someone, you hit the magic number. I will see you down in Woodbine, Georgia. One thing I skipped over, we started Gavers, the death module, in June 2013. And as we've progressed, okay, we're starting to see some of the rewards. It's a process that takes time. It's not going to change overnight. So I just want you to keep the course and try to work with us. I think we can make some improvement. I think Robbie said we are passionate. We are passionate. This is what we do. And it's not a burden if you contact us. It's actually a very helpful resource. When I go somewhere and I say, hey, do you know Judge? And they go, oh yeah, yeah, we've been friends for a long time. That helps quite a bit. What will this mean to the local registrars?
I'm gonna make it short and quick. You're going to what? Review and accept. So that's exactly what that's going to mean to you all, that you'll be able to, it'll help you to do your job a little bit more quickly, then you can focus on the other tasks that you have to do. Also, you will have fewer paper death certificates to enter to gather, so Michael talked about that. So you no longer have to worry about the long forms. More records in your gathers, they'll be ready to register in your queue. So when you check in the morning, so you'll be able to register those records much quickly. And the most important, less time spent manually entering death information in the gathers at the county office. So that's what it would mean to you all. Now we have Donna Moore, who will take us home.
So this is where I was supposed to do my top 12. Give it up for Michael and Manette. Thank you. So we're at the close. And I want you to reflect on today, and I want you to remember why you're here. You're all from probate judge offices, but you're here representing your role as the vital records operation. I had a lady last year tell me in Greene County, I've been the registrar for 14 years and I've never been trained. I've never been invited to training. And you can't fault someone for doing something or not doing something if you haven't educated them or trained them on what to do. So if you think about, again, why you're here as the Vital Records Registrar or Deputy Registrar or Clerk, I hope you've seen some training. You know how to do a delayed birth certificate now. You've gotten some training on some of your top 10, top 12 questions. You've gotten some information on things that we're trying to do for you to make it easier for you to be vital records in your probate courts. Things like review and accept. Wouldn't it be nice if the state office can get that process down to 14 seconds for you? Gwynette's there. We can get you there. But it means that we really have to go after those 1,600 doctors who medically certify on paper today. So that's our job, to make your job easier. You've also heard some other things that we're doing at the state office to make your life easier relative to digitization. Right now we have 6 million records electronically. That means we've got 14 million in boxes. So we want to make that easier for you as well. If we can put all those records at your fingertips, it makes it easier for you to serve your customers at the front counter. Now, I will tell you, the feedback, the questions, the passion in the room, I love that. I love your feedback. I love your challenges. I've got a personal challenge from Judge Padgett to go look up whether or not someone who has been dishonorably discharged can get a free birth certificate. That's great. I should do that. That's my job. That doesn't offend me at all. Thank you for that, Judge Padgett. But today, the feedback, the insights, the challenges, it's all good. You've given us some things to think about. I've given you some things to think about. Probably the biggest surprise for me was the seal. I had something else on my mind I thought you were going to be passionate about. And that's okay. That's okay. The paper has a seal. We don't need another one. It's not personal. It's not personal. Tell the customer that, absolutely. I will tell you this, I have on my to-do list to go back and remind Social Security and passport and driver services and DFACS and cruise lines. Sheila, that's on your list. So keep your feedback coming. I feel like I know most of you, all of you, through email and phone calls. And it's nice to put a face to a name. Keep your emails coming. Keep your questions coming. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. All of your questions today were value added. Even the ones that made us a little scratchy. Even the answers that made us a little scratchy are okay too. That's how we're going to learn together. Again, remember why you're here. You are here representing vital records for your county. So it's our job to make sure we give you the best information, that we give you training, that we give you guidance and governance, and that we make your lives easier as vital records operations in the county. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. That is correct. You don't get a notification that says there's a death certificate in your queue. So what we do and what we've asked counties to do is go in there and check once a day, a couple of times a day. Go in there and check and see if you have anything waiting in the queue that you need to review and accept.
Why can't it automatically send a notice?
You know, I don't know that it's designed that way. We can put that on our to-do list to talk to our vendor. Sheila, you got that one? Okay. Yeah, that would be nice if we get a little email that says,
They're getting an email saying it's there, why couldn't we get it at the same time? Because you know, when we're doing weapons carry license and marriage licenses and probate hearings, sometimes you don't think, oh, I need to go check this queue. You get an email, you go, oh, okay.
I mean, that's a good point. If they're getting an email, why can't we get an email? They know where the record's going, so we'll put that on our to-do list. So it takes, you know, that 21 days? No, it's not all crime lab. Because you asked, 94% of our deaths are natural. 6% have to be are non-natural and are handled by coroners and MEs. They take 60 to 90 days. So did you know you can issue pending records, pending death records? You can issue pending, I see some heads nodding, you can issue pending death records because those families need to be able to go to the bank and they need to be able to call the mortgage company and they need to be able to call the utility company. They can do that with a pending cause of death. Now, you cannot file insurance with a pending cause of death record, but you can do all the necessary day-to-day things that a spouse or a family needs to take care of. You can issue a pending death certificate.
$25?
Yes, $25. Yes, ma'am. On non-natural deaths, where the certificate is pending, I know that we get a lot at the state office from the coroners and the MEs. They send directly to us, and we key those into the record. I see some head nodding from my team. Do they ever send you the cause of death? Okay. Okay.
But we have to forward it to you.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
If it's a pending and we issue a certified debt and they pay their $25 and then however long down the road they come back and they need another, like, you know, after it's not pending anymore, is it another 25?
What do we do at the state office? We swap it out. We swap it out at the state office. So we swap but have them bring in the pendings.
But if they don't bring in the pendings, then we would charge another 25?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you have a question, April?
Yes. If we have, well, our coroner has issues. When she comes in and she puts all her information in and tries to police it, I still can't see it.
Okay, so where's Robbie? Robbie, get with April. Thank you, Robbie. Other questions?
I got a comment, we talked about this earlier, and probably on more than one occasion, that where delayed and many birth certificates are rejected, we send those in, they reject it, and then the, applicant gets noticed, but we don't. That's a ongoing problem for me. I mean, can we amend that?
Yes, and let me bring that up. That was in one of my questions. And what is your name, ma'am? Margarita. Margarita and I talked during the break. One of the things that we are just getting ready to implement in special services, and we've talked about it ourselves, and we'll be able to do it in fee and issuance, but we're going to go ahead and launch this, is if you will send in your vitals, your information, your email, your phone number with the amendment, if you facilitate the amendment for your customer, then we should be facilitating the response through you, rather than going back to your customer. I think at the state office, we've automatically gone to the customer, but if you're facilitating that for them, then we need to come back to you, because ultimately you're going to release that $25 birth certificate, not us. Yes, ma'am.
Will you send the original documents back to us or back to the consumer?
Whoever sent it to us will get sent back the original document. So if we get a lot of amendments directly from customers, so we'll send it back to them. But if you facilitate that for them, we will work with you. Gwen, do we have a commitment on that?
Now, I'll be honest, every amendment I've sent, it's about, I mean, I've been with Crawford County now for about going on 4 years, and in 4 years, all the amendments I've done, it's about a 50-50 shot as to whether or not we're gonna get those original documents back.
So now you've just thrown down the challenge. And we love it and we accept. Thank you very much.
Well, I just, that's the main thing that I have, or the main issue that I have with the whole process, is the fact that, I don't want to tell my customer that, okay, well, we can get this taken care of in this many days because that's the information I'm working on.
So what I would encourage you to do is we're going to have summer training, and we're going to teach all registrars that want to learn how to look at original documents, so that when your customer presents it to you at the counter, you make a copy and you send the copy to us. Remember we talked about that a little bit earlier? Some of you are already trained and approved on how to do that. If you want to do that for your customers, come to that training in the summer.
Okay.
Judge Wilkes.
What do you, consider the difference between the custodian and registrar of duty?
So for me,
And do they know that they're one or the other?
some of you do and some of you don't. So for me, when I name a new registrar, I name the custodian at the same time. By code, it lists out what the duties are for registrar and custodian. But for me, with new people coming on, I want to make sure that that role is one and the same. So when I name a new registrar, I name the custodian at the same time.
The registrar registers the record, the custodian keeps the copy and issues certified copies.
And most of us do both of those functions. So some of you are Newton County. Newton County, we have the registrar and the deputy registrar. And then the judge is the custodian. Judge Baker's the custodian.
That's how Hampton County is.
Darren.
Talking about summer training, please keep in mind, this is election year for all of us, and some of us still have the duties of conducting the election, so please keep the election dates in mind when you set those dates.
Certainly will. Thank you for that.
I can help you with those dates.
Awesome. Thank you. So I will stand up here with a microphone just as long as you'll let me. But I have to drive to Cook County tonight, so I'm not in any hurry to go anywhere. I'd rather be right here with you. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Oh, thank you so much for that question. The question is, can we get a copy of the slides? The copy of the slides will be emailed to you. Last year, we waited till the end of the training, and we got 159 bounce backs. So we're going to do it after every training. So if you are here, Joe, when will they get the slides? Tonight, tomorrow, Friday?
They'll get it when I get to Cook County today. I'm gonna start send them out.
Awesome,
Make
awesome.
sure that when you sign in that the email was correct, because some people, when they RSVP, use one email address, we'll send it back to that one email address. If it's several people that RSVP for your email address, then that person should forward it on to you.
Okay, so we have one last thing. One last thing. We need a favor. So coming around, Joe, do you have those evaluation forms?
They've already been passed around.
All right, so if you will pass those back to Joe, if you will please give us your candid and honest feedback, we'd appreciate it. Thank you again for being here. Very much appreciate it.